and welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DiRienzo.
And I'm Miss Joan Marie Mosi.
And we have a pretty interesting show for you tonight. We have with us Nicholas Hayward joining us again here on Let Them Talk.
Welcome back, Nicholas.
Welcome back. And Jennifer Gonzalez. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about a sad story, but one that's very important to talk about, and that is the murder, the homicide of Kenny Lazo in the hands of the Suffolk County or Suffolk Police. Suffolk County is in Long Island, and in 2008, and the struggle that case has spawned, and I guess the 5 police officers involved did not get in any trouble at all, and were not investigated, and are not in any way going to be punished or upbraided at all in any way, despite the fact that a young man in the prime of his life with a family was literally beaten to death. It's a sad story. Nicholas Hayward, who's been with us before, had his own tragedy, and his son, some years ago, just a young teenager, 13 years old, playing in the basement of his own house, was shot to death by a police officer who is allegedly investigating a report of somebody in the basement, and wound up shooting the child from the building who was in his own basement. And I don't think anything really happened to the officer in that case. So we're going to talk about those cases. Nicholas is well positioned to ask questions and participate in the conversation. And welcome to the show, Jennifer Gonzalez.
Thank you.
It's a painful story, but one that has to be told, so we're going to give you the camera and ask you to tell us exactly what transpired in 2008 with your partner, Kenny Lazo.
Well, on April 12, 2008, Kenny Lazo was pulled over by Suffolk County cops. From what they tell us, he was traveling on a highway. He was pulled over for going 63 and a 55 for a traffic violation. He was then asked to get out of his vehicle, reason being unknown. There was 5 officers, 2 uniformed, 2 detective, and 1 sergeant. And the reason why they pulled him out the vehicle, we have no idea. They started to beat him to death. They started to beat him with their flashlights. They said that he tried elbowing a cop and running on the highway. So in order to contain him, they had to beat him with their flashlights. Kenny was then brought down to the precinct, the 3rd precinct in Suffolk County, and he was left there to die, basically. He did not have medical attention called immediately. He was not brought down to the hospital immediately when visually he was beaten, and they were hitting him with all their power with their flashlights. An hour later or so, EMS was called, and when they went to the precinct, Kenny was found dead on the floor in his boxers. That's basically what happened to him.
And it's hard to know all the details when you're outside of it and you just find out that one of your loved ones has died. Was it difficult to get information from the police department?
It was very difficult. When they first called us, they did not tell us that Kenny was beaten to death. They told us that he had passed out and died. They didn't tell us that he was involved with any incident with the police, and they did not say that they put any kind of physical force on him. So when we seen him, that's when we seen he had abrasions all over his face, his head, lacerations, his tongue was sliced in half, he was missing teeth, his ear didn't even look like an ear anymore. He had cuts and open wounds on his wrists. He looked like a different man. You couldn't even recognize him.
So
he was beaten so bad.
Grief, you discovered that
there's
something odd about this situation.
Yes. We decided to have an independent autopsy done on Kenny, and that revealed that he was beaten while he was in handcuffs. It also revealed that he had been choked, that he was beaten with the flashlights. It also revealed that he did not use any force against the police because he was handcuffed and he was face down on his left side, I believe. And it shows that he was not able to use any force against these officers that decided to beat him.
So they withheld information after the fact.
Yes. Yes, they did.
And now, has there been an investigation of the police officers? Were they indicted? Did anything like that
The
happen?
officers were not indicted. The criminal case was dismissed. When it was brought to a jury, they felt that the force that was used was justifiable. They felt that the cops did not do anything wrong. We still have a civil case that's pending. As far as we went with that so far, we had the depositions done on most of the officers, but it has not been completed yet. It's still pending.
A long process.
But as per the criminal charges, all the officers had prior actions against them, but they always won. Nothing. They were never charged for anything. They always won their cases.
So are these guys all still working for the Suffolk
They're still
Police
working. They're still working full time, 3rd precinct. You know, quote unquote, protecting and serving our streets.
Where's the 3rd precinct located in Suffolk County?
It's located on 1650 5th Avenue in Bayshore.
Okay, Bayshore, Long Island.
Bayshore, Long Island, yes.
And are these officers? How does the police department work there? Is it a county officer? Is it a town officer? A city officer? Who do they work for?
It's a county, Suffolk County, and they have precincts throughout the Suffolk County. And the 3rd precinct is the one that patrols Bayshore, Central Islip, Brentwood areas. They patrol like certain areas. They are assigned to patrol certain areas in the county.
Now, I wanted to ask Nicholas, why is this still happening? Why does this continue to go on?
Well, I believe that this is still happening because it ain't too many people doing anything to stop it. I mean, I myself, I'm a member of Parents Against Police Brutality and a member of October 22nd. And we go out and we try to expose as much as we can about the violence and stuff that the police are bringing on our people. What happened to Kenny is not just only happening in Long Island City. This is something that's happening in New York, New Jersey. I mean, it's practically happening all over
the country, yeah.
Look at what just happened to DJ Harris. DJ Henry, excuse me. I mean, it's
what happened? Tell us about
an epidemic of police brutality and police murder that's actually sweeping us.
Tell us about that. The incident you just mentioned.
DJ Henry.
DJ Henry.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
My son?
Yes.
My son was killed back in 1994. He was playing an innocent game of cops and robbers, and in that incident, Nicholas and about 6 other kids all had plastic toy guns. None of them looked at anything like a real weapon. And after the police approached him and Nicholas dropped the gun and said, we're only playing, the officer shot him anyway. Now, in that case also, this officer had a history of going into the community and patrolling the buildings with his gun drawn, which at that time was a violation of the
police policy.
Yeah, he was not supposed. An officer is not supposed to remove his gun from the holster unless he was actually in a commissive danger, of defending himself in some sort of manner. But in this case, the officer removed his gun after he got off the elevator and was basically doing his vertical sweep with his gun out, which he was not supposed to do. And also, there was no indictment. There was basically no investigation in the case either. Even in just about every case, people think that the district attorney is investigating the case, but what they're actually doing is covering these cases up. That's what they're doing. They are not investigating these cases. If they were investigating these cases, the police would be going to jail. And there are no police going to jail in any of these cases.
And don't forget, the district attorney works constantly with the police on numerous cases. These are people who interact all the time in the course of their regular jobs. So, of course, it's difficult to get them to turn against somebody that they're working with all the time.
I think the most difficult part of this whole thing with police violence and police brutality and police murder is that we have to constantly be out here to expose it.
Right.
I mean,
people don't know that.
For
it's
instance, my son was killed in '94. Right now, there probably ain't too many people who even remembers him. So that's why I continue to be out there.
Right.
And letting people, reminding people about what happened to Nicholas back in 1994.
And one of my friends in the 80s, Michael Stewart, was killed by the police department in New York City.
I mean, it's a long history.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a long history of
And there was a
police murder.
cover-up of evidence in the Michael
In the
Stewart
Michael
case.
Stewart case as well.
There was definitely a cover-up of evidence, and the medical examiner was considered to be complicit in that as well at
and
the time.
thank God you got an independent autopsy, because it's the only way to get the evidence out.
You can't
Absolutely.
trust the coroner. What did the coroner say or do in the case of your partner,
Well,
of Kenny Lazo?
it was ruled a homicide, the
Mm-hmm.
death at someone else's hands. They haven't done anything. They haven't done anything at all. They haven't sided with us. They haven't agreed that they use unnecessary force to Kenny. They feel like what the cops did was justifiable. They feel that the cops didn't have any violations. You know, they didn't do anything for us.
Now, there's
5
an
to
event-
1. Let's
Yeah.
remember, one person handcuffed. That's
Exactly.
brutal. That is
Yes.
brutal.
5
Now,
to 1.
let's also talk about the event that you've got coming up, because I know a lot of people are going to want to get involved and want to know what's going on around this case. So,
Right. On Sunday, March 13th, we're having an event at the Brett Forum at 5 p.m. It's an engaging event on police brutality and what we could do about it. What we're going to do is we're going to give a brief informational event based on what happened to Kenny, on other victims and families, and then we're going to discuss what we can do as the people to try to stop police brutality, how we could come together and put an end to it, how we could put the fear in the cops so that they won't violate or brutalize us, the people. So we want to have focus groups to try to raise awareness, to try to come up with topics, with actions that we can do to put an end to police brutality.
and this is where the Justice for Kenny Coalition is sponsoring this.
Yes.
It's a fundraiser for this organization.
It's a fundraiser for the Justice for Kenny Coalition. The purpose of this event is to raise funds for April 12th, which is Kenny's 3rd anniversary of his death. We're hosting a huge event in Long Island at the 3rd Precinct in Bayshore. For Kenny's 3rd anniversary, it's going to be a visual candle lightings in remembrance for him, and also to let the cops know that we're not going to stay quiet. We're still going to keep fighting until justice is served.
Now tell people how to get in touch and find out more, because you've got a Facebook page.
Right, we have a Facebook page. You can find it as Justice for Kenny Lazo. You can also email us, justiceforkennylazo@yahoo.com. You could put that in the Facebook page as well.
You can Google Kenny Lazo.
You could Google
and see
Kenny Lazo.
past vigils, right?
You can see past visuals, documentaries on Kenny, photos of what was done to him before and after.
So there's plenty of
we
information
actually
out
have
there.
a video, and if you want, we won't show the whole thing, but we can show a couple minutes of this
Sure,
video.
let's do a
Sure.
clip,
I think
yeah.
it'd be a great way to look at this. Okay, so hang on one second. We're going to just bring it up, and
And this is Kenny Lazo, Justice for Kenny.
what is this protest? We're going to see a vigil that was held recently.
Right. This video was at Kenny's 2nd anniversary that we held. It was raining, and for a rainy event, we had a lot of support.
Okay, here it is.
Por el amor de Dios, si no hay justicia, no hay paz en este mundo. Por favor, eso es lo único que yo clamo. Justicia, justicia para mi hijo es todo lo que yo pido en el nombre de Dios.
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
No!
What do we want?
Kenny's
When do we want
ex-girlfriend,
it?
his son's mother, and
You know, I'm like devastated. My son is devastated. He had his father taken away from him. There's no man in this world that can ever replace him. There's nobody that can ever come close. That was his one and only father. And these police killed him with their flashlights, beat him to death, and took that away from him. Now my son has to grow up without a father, looking at other kids play with their fathers. We don't have anybody anymore. So I just want you guys to come together as a community.
Kenny Lazo's sister, I'm the second oldest. We're here because he was beaten to death about a year ago on April 12th. You have no idea how much my family has suffered for all this. I've been crying all night because of him. His son does, my mom, everybody I know that knows him. All we're asking for is justice. Money ain't gonna bring him back.
And we can't stand for this any longer. We will not stand for the play. Asesino, policía, 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 asesino.
My name is Caitlin Juarez, and I'm Kenny's cousin. Last year, we had a disturbing call at 4 o'clock in the morning that he was dead, and everybody had to head out here. We're out here, not even on vacation. Usually when we come to New York, we come to some time with the family, and we had to come last year for a devastating reality that my cousin had passed away. And then just to hear that he had just collapsed, and then not know anything at all, because we didn't know anything until the last minute when we see pictures of him where he's all bruised up. We went to his the wake, and then he looked up his shoulders, and he had the marks of he was handcuffed. So you saw the marks that he was handcuffed while he was being beaten to death. And I'm just here to support, and I hope the rest of the community of Brentwood, Long Island, everybody else who's ever gotten beaten, harassed, or anything by a cop to come out here and support. Okay, it's raining today, but some other day it's going to be sunny, so you better be out here.
Sí, yo soy el padre, bueno, no el padre, fui el padre adoptivo, se puede. No saben el daño que han causado a la familia de nosotros, mis hijos, mis hijas, están totalmente destrozados sus corazones. Ellos no saben el daño tan grande que le han hecho no solamente a mi familia, sino a la familia al padre de él, la familia del padre de él, la familia de mi esposa, la familia, tantas familias que están sufriendo por la negligencia de los policías. Y todo lo que queremos es justicia, el dinero no nos importa, queremos justicia. Esta gente está trabajando aún en otro precinto y es indignante para la comunidad de que ellos estén trabajando todavía bajo pago. Y queremos justicia. El caso criminal seguirá adelante hasta el fin, no importa los recursos que tengamos que gastar, hasta llegaremos al final.
Gracias. Jose Juarez, I'm cousins with Kenny Lazo.
Well, that's pretty interesting. What we were listening to was a video of a recent vigil that happened at the 3rd Police Precinct in Suffolk County, and this was a fascinating account of family members. In this case, the case of Kenny Lazo, who in April of 2008 was brutally beaten to death. And we have his partner, Jennifer Gonzalez. We have also with us Nicholas Hayward. I'm Paul DiRienzo with Miss Joan Marie Musi, and we're covering this very important case. So you guys can tell us some more. Joni, go right ahead.
What I'd like to ask you about is just to tell us a little something about Kenny, because these are real people that the police have killed, and not just some number. This is a real human being who had family, as we saw in the video. Yeah. Tell us just a little bit about who he was and what kind of person he was.
Well, Kenny was born out in Long Island, Bayshore. He was such a loving person. He was just filled with love, very family-oriented. He went to always visit his family, always saying I love you to his male and female cousins. He would grab them, hug them, kiss them. Just very affectionate, very about his family. He was a hard worker. He was a great father. My son adored him. He was always teaching my son new things, loved sports. He was great at soccer, at basketball. He loved dancing, you know, going out, having fun. He was just a fun, hard-working person overall.
Now tell us again about the event at the Brecht Forum, because people might want to go to that this Sunday.
Okay, on Sunday, March 13th at the Brecht Forum at 5 p.m., we're engaging in an event on police brutality and what we can do about it, to put an end to it, to stop it. We need support from everybody. It's not only happening in Long Island, it's happening worldwide. For information, you could email Justice for Kenny Lazo. That's JUSTICFORKENNYLAZO@yahoo.com, or you can find us on Facebook with that email address, or just Google Kenny Lazo. For any information, please.
And the video was on
contact
YouTube.
us.
We just watched the video on YouTube, so there's many
Yes.
videos on YouTube.
There are
And,
several videos on YouTube. If you
I'm sure Vimeo and all the other companies out there as well.
Picked them up.
Yeah.
So this is Sunday, March 13th at the Brecht Forum at 5 o'clock. So everybody,
Yes.
let's get out there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Great.
And could I add something on
Of
that?
Yes, go right ahead.
When doing fundraisers, the reason why we have to do fundraisers because it takes money in order to fight against police
Absolutely.
brutality. You know, the literature, you know, traveling different places, you know, and she needs as much support as she can. She's been a tireless worker in fighting for justice for Kenny. And not only for Kenny, she's been out there for other family members also. So that's why I say it's very important, you know, to try to make this event this Sunday. You know, this young lady here has been, you know, on the forefront trying to get the word out from the injustice that happened to one of her loved ones and many others who has, you know, died innocently to hands of police brutality. So I really commend Jennifer on the work that she's doing, and she needs your support to continue her work.
Thank you.
And for folks who might have, might be just tuning in and haven't heard this whole story, Jennifer Gonzalez, why don't you walk back exactly what occurred back in April of 2008 with your partner, Kenny Lazo, and why we're having this show. What exactly happened all over again for folks who might have just tuned in?
Okay. On April 12, 2008, Kenny was pulled over, asked to get out of his vehicle, and he was brutally beaten with flashlights by 5 officers, brought down to the 3rd precinct, and was left there to die. To sum it up, he had abrasions, lacerations all over his face, skull, body. His tongue was slit in half. He was missing teeth, and no justice has been served.
There was an investigation, any sort of investigation?
There was a criminal case that was dismissed. They said that the cops used necessary force. 5 officers to hold on one man. Beating him with a flashlight is considered necessary force.
While he was handcuffed.
While he was handcuffed. So no charges were brought against any of the officers. There is a civil case that is pending.
And you got a independent autopsy, an independent coroner basically report on what happened.
Yes, we had an independent autopsy, and it was ruled a homicide from the independent autopsy coroner, and also the one that was provided by the state.
And homicide means death at the hands of another person.
Death at the hands of another person. Why the officers weren't charged, I don't know. But we're fighting.
Was there any argument made? I mean, how could you have a person handcuffed and 5 police officers and then have necessary force? I mean, I don't understand how that could be used. How come other agencies or the federal government hasn't stepped in? How come we haven't heard from the federal authorities, civil rights, anything like that?
It's just a long process with the case. At one point, they just said it was the feds were getting involved, investigating the 3rd precinct and so forth. But, it's one big gang. They all work together. They're not trying to help, one person or, the county or, us, the people who are being violated. They're trying to cover themselves. They're trying to protect themselves. They all work together. They're not going to go against each other when they have to deal with each other on a daily basis. It's pretty sad. All we want is justice. We want the cops to be held accountable for their actions. We want them to own up to what they did. We don't want them to continue, violating and abusing their rights, as a police officer, and, treating us human beings, the way that they do.
Where does this? What do you want from this? I mean, where can this go? Given the realities that you've just described for us, where could this ever go? What do you want? What do you like? What would you like to see come out of this?
We would like to have a fair justice system. We would want the cops to be held accountable for their actions, for them to be punished the same way that we will be punished. If I was to brutally beat somebody with a flashlight and kill them, I would be behind bars right now. I would be in jail. But there's 5 officers that are walking the streets that killed Kenny Lazo. 5 officers. We want them, to be fair. We just want a fair system, an equal and fair system. And, I feel like if we all fight together, if we all come together as a community, as a state, as a huge organization, our force is stronger than them. There will be change if we was to all come together and speak up and do something about it.
There shouldn't be different laws and different rights for the police and for different laws and different rights for the civilians. The police kill and murder an innocent person. They should get the same prosecution as if it was myself.
Yes.
And that is just not happening. And the federal government actually is not doing anything. They're not stepping in. They're not trying to do anything. I do not support a special prosecution in any case or a special prosecutor, because who is that prosecutor going to be working for but either the city, state, or federal government? And like I said, right now the government is not just doing anything to stop police brutality or this police murder. There's still an epidemic going on, and it's something where the people, my thing is organizing the people and bringing awareness to the people on what is actually happening. That's why, another reason why it's important to come to this event. There's going to be other parents there. You're going to hear other stories of police brutality and police murder. So
let's hear about the time and date. We have the last minute to go, so this is a good time to really remind folks about this event and where to go and how to find out more information.
Okay, again, it's Sunday, March 13th at the Brett Forum at 5 p.m. You could contact us at Justice for Kenny Lazo, that's Lazo, at yahoo.com. It's a fundraising event for April 12th. From 6:30 to 8 p.m. we're going to be having another visual for Kenny for his 3rd anniversary.
Also at the Precinct.
That's at the 3rd Precinct in Bayshore, Long Island, Suffolk County.
So thank you very much for joining us. Last few seconds.